connections and
Have you ever felt an inexplicable pull towards someone so magnetic that it literally scared you to your core? That's often what happens in twin flame connections. This sacred bond can trigger both intense attraction and paralyzing fear, creating what seems like an impossible paradox. Many describe their first twin flame encounter as feeling like they've been struck by spiritual lightning, electrifying, overwhelming, and impossible to ignore. Yet alongside this powerful recognition comes an equally powerful urge to run in the opposite direction. This fear response isn't just ordinary relationship anxiety, it's a profound soul-level reaction that can shake even the most emotionally stable person to their core. The twin flame connection operates on a frequency so high that our human selves often feel ill-equipped to handle it. It's like trying to contain the power of a hurricane in a mason jar. Something inside us instinctively knows this energy could completely transform or destroy life as we know it. In this reading, we'll explore the fascinating psychology behind why twin flames trigger such intense fear responses in each other, and more importantly, how to work with these fears as catalysts for profound spiritual growth. Whether you're currently experiencing a twin flame connection or simply curious about this mysterious dynamic, understanding these fears can illuminate important truths about love, transformation, and the journey of the soul. Let's dive deep into the core reasons why twin flames often find themselves running from the very connection their souls most deeply desire. As is well known, twin flame connections serve as supernatural mirrors, reflecting every aspect of our being, including those parts we've spent lifetimes trying to hide, even from ourselves. Think of it like having a spiritual X-ray machine that reveals every emotional scar, every defense mechanism, and every beautiful truth about who you really are. As one twin flame described it, looking into my twin's eyes was like seeing myself for the first time. Raw, exposed, and terrifyingly beautiful. I couldn't hide anymore, and that scared me to death. The intensity of this reflection can feel like standing in a hall of mirrors, where every angle shows another layer of truth about yourself. What makes this particularly challenging is that we often meet our twin flames when we're not fully ready to face these reflections. It's like being thrust onto a stage with bright lights suddenly illuminating every corner of our being. Our instinctive response? Run and hide. This explains why many twins initially pull away. The reflection becomes too intense, too real, too demanding of inner work. But here's the profound truth. This mirror effect, while terrifying, is actually the greatest gift of the twin flame connection. Just as a skilled surgeon must first see clearly what needs healing, this soul reflection shows us exactly where we need to grow. Every trigger, every fear, every moment of discomfort is actually a divine invitation to heal and evolve. Think of it like a spiritual detox. Initially, it might feel overwhelming as all your stuff comes to the surface, but this is precisely what needs to happen for deep healing to occur. Your twin flame doesn't create these issues. They simply illuminate what was already there, waiting to be acknowledged and transformed. The mirror doesn't judge, it simply reflects. When we can approach these reflections with compassion rather than fear, we begin to see them as opportunities rather than threats. This mirror effect isn't meant to break us. It's designed to break through our illusions and reveal our authentic selves. Yes, it's scary. Yes, it's intense. But it's also the most direct path to genuine self-awareness and unconditional self-love. After all, how can we truly love ourselves if we're afraid to see ourselves clearly? Think about trying to contain an entire ocean in a teacup. That's what our human vessels experience when attempting to process this divine connection. As one twin flame described it, it feels like my heart is trying to expand beyond the confines of my physical body. The love is so immense it hurts, but in the most beautiful way possible. The pain is like a 300-foot sea on top of you, subduing and crushing you into nothing. You can't think. You can't catch your breath. You can't do anything but freeze and feel as if you're literally dying. Time stops. Your whole life stops. The world stops. This intensity often triggers what mystics call a spiritual emergency, a crisis that catalyzes rapid awakening. It's like being struck by spiritual lightning that illuminates every corner of your being. The love energy between twin flames is described as otherworldly and paranormal, something that doesn't quite fit within our earthly dimension. It's an encounter with the divine wearing a human face. The overwhelm can be particularly challenging because our modern world doesn't provide us with the tools or understanding to handle this level of connection. It's like being given a Ferrari when you've only ever driven a bicycle. The power is thrilling, but can also be dangerous if you don't know how to handle it. Many twins report experiencing what's called Kundalini awakening, a powerful surge of spiritual energy that rises through the body, opening chakras and expanding consciousness. As one twin shared, the whole process is for you to live that way on a perpetual basis. This intensity isn't just about romantic love, it's about spiritual transformation on the deepest level. Know this overwhelming intensity isn't a punishment or a curse. It's a blessing that's pushing you to expand beyond your perceived limitations. It is actually your soul's capacity for love, breaking through the limitations of your human experience. When the overwhelm feels too much, remember to ground yourself. Connect with nature, practice gentle self-care, and trust that you wouldn't have been chosen for this connection if you weren't capable of handling it. Unlike traditional relationships, where we can somewhat navigate the waters with our familiar maps of dating rules and relationship expectations, twin flame connections operate on divine timing and cosmic laws that completely bypass our ego's need for control. It's like trying to direct traffic in the middle of a hurricane. You quickly realize you're not the one calling the shots anymore. From experience, we see how this plays out. Twin flames usually meet under the most extreme circumstances because the meeting is arranged by your higher self, not your ego. The soul doesn't care what your circumstances are or whether you are married or not. This divine orchestration often feels like being caught in a spiritual tsunami, powerful, unstoppable, and completely beyond our control. The ego, which has spent years building fortresses of control and predictability, suddenly finds itself powerless in the face of this cosmic force. It's like being a master chess player only to discover you're now playing a game where the pieces move themselves according to rules you don't understand. As one spiritual teacher noted, the twin flame journey is not about control. It's about surrender to a higher plan. What makes this particularly challenging is that we often meet our twins at times when our life seems least prepared for such an intense connection. It's like receiving an invitation to the most important event of your life when you're in the middle of moving houses. The timing seems terrible, yet perfect in its divine orchestration. The universe has its own schedule, and it rarely consults with our carefully planned life timelines. Remember, this loss of control isn't meant to punish or frighten us. It's designed to teach us the art of divine surrender. Just as a river doesn't fight its path to the ocean, we're being asked to trust the flow of our journey. When you stop trying to control the twin flame connection and instead allow it to guide you, that's when the real magic begins. This surrender to divine timing doesn't mean becoming passive. Rather, it's about learning to dance with uncertainty, to trust in perfect timing, even when our human minds can't comprehend it. It's about understanding that sometimes the greatest act of love is letting go of our need to control how and when the connection unfolds. Consider it a cosmic trust fall. Scary? Absolutely. Necessary for spiritual growth? Without a doubt. The loss of control in twin flame connections isn't a bug. It's a feature designed to teach us the deepest lessons about faith, trust, and divine timing. When you feel most out of control in your twin flame journey, you're probably exactly where you need to be. The universe isn't just watching, it's orchestrating every step of this sacred dance. Imagine discovering a love so pure, so complete, that it feels like finding the missing piece of your soul's puzzle, only to be paralyzed by the terror that you might not be worthy of it. This is the paradoxical dance of twin flame rejection fear, where the promise of unconditional love becomes the very thing that triggers our deepest wounds of unworthiness. The vulnerability is both magical and terrifying, like standing naked under the brightest spotlight you've ever experienced, knowing that every scar, every imperfection, every shadow within you is fully visible. One twin flame beautifully captured this paradox. How could anyone truthfully think so highly of them? In their eyes, it is inevitable that the other will leave them and break them into a million pieces if they don't get out before being completely sucked in. This fear often leads to self-sabotage, like deliberately breaking a precious vase before someone else can drop it. Think of it like being offered the most exquisite, priceless diamond in the world, but feeling like you have butterfingers. The fear of dropping and shattering something so precious can be paralyzing. The higher the value we place on the connection, the more terrifying the prospect of losing it becomes, because the person has the power to hurt you in ways you didn't even know anyone could possibly hurt you. The love runs that deep. This fear of rejection often stems from childhood wounds and past relationship trauma, creating what therapists call an approach avoidance conflict. Like a moth drawn to flame, We're simultaneously pulled toward the light of unconditional love while terrified of being burned by it. The ego, designed to protect us from pain, sounds all its alarm bells when faced with such vulnerability. This fear isn't actually about your twin flame rejecting you. It's about the deep-seated belief that you're somehow unworthy of the love they offer. Your twin flame appears in your life not to reject you, but to help heal these very wounds of unworthiness. You present yourself as a broken, lost liar, scared manipulator, and you say, "This is me, and I see you. We are both nothing should we choose the truth." The beautiful irony is that your twin flame likely sees you more clearly and loves you more completely than anyone else ever has, including yourself. They see past your perceived flaws to the divine essence of who you truly are. The challenge isn't proving yourself worthy of their love. It's allowing yourself to receive the love that's already there. When this fear arises, remember, you were chosen for this connection precisely because you are worthy of it. Your perceived imperfections aren't obstacles to love. They're opportunities for healing. As one twin flame teacher shared, the ultimate rejection you fear isn't coming from your twin. It's coming from the parts of yourself that haven't yet learned to love unconditionally. The twin flame journey isn't just about finding love. It's about dying to your old self and being reborn into something entirely new. This process of ego death and spiritual transformation is perhaps the most terrifying aspect of the twin flame connection, as it demands nothing less than your complete surrender to change. It takes madness to let the old die and the new to be so open and vulnerable. It scares the life out of any sane person. It's the sacrifice of your lifelong and complete self, and not many dare tread there. Think of it like a spiritual detox on steroids. Every shadow, every wound, every false belief comes rushing to the surface for healing. The vast majority of people who experience a spiritual awakening do so through extreme trauma or a near-death experience. Your twin flame brings you a near-death experience so that you can awaken to your divinity and go through the process of being born again into the likeness of the Creator. This resistance to transformation often manifests as what spiritual teachers call the dark night of the soul, a period of intense spiritual crisis where everything you thought you knew about yourself and your life gets completely dismantled. It's like being stripped down to your very essence, naked and vulnerable, facing the truth of who you really are beneath all the masks and protective layers. Remember, this resistance isn't just about avoiding change. It's about the ego's desperate attempt to maintain its existence. The ego, which has spent years building elaborate defense mechanisms and identity structures, suddenly faces its own obsolescence. The beauty of this transformation, though terrifying, is that it leads to authentic liberation. Like a phoenix rising from its own ashes, the death of the old self makes way for something far more magnificent, your true divine nature. This isn't just personal growth, it's spiritual evolution at its most profound level. When this fear of transformation arises, remember, you're not losing yourself, you're finding your true self. The resistance you feel is just the ego's death grip on its familiar patterns. The twin flame union happens for one reason only, and that's to spiritually evolve the twins. It's a mirror soul for a reason, to trigger the shit out of you so that you evolve past your shortcomings in life. Trust that this transformation, while challenging, is the greatest gift your twin flame connection offers. It's not about becoming someone different. It's about becoming more authentically yourself than you've ever been before. The fear that arises between twin flames isn't just ordinary relationship anxiety. It's a sacred messenger pointing us toward our deepest transformation. Like a spiritual initiation, these fears serve as doorways to profound awakening and growth. Remember that running from these fears only prolongs the inevitable. The twin flame connection persists across time and space until both partners are ready to face their shadows and step into their highest potential together. By consciously working with our fears, rather than being controlled by them, we transform this seemingly terrifying connection into our greatest catalyst for unconditional love and spiritual mastery. Trust that you are exactly where you need to be on this sacred journey. Your fears don't make you weak, they make you human. And it's through fully embracing our humanity that we eventually transcend it.